and you're going to be living in the home, right? So what I say to people, and it kind of blows their mind, how much do I need to get into a home? Okay. And I'm going to answer the question just from a 10,000 foot view. And I say anywhere between 6 to 10% of the purchase price. And you might say, whoa, that's a lot of money. But ride with me. I'm going to explain. So a lot of you all, especially if you're a first time home buyer, you hear down payment, down payment, down payment, down payment, and you hear that ad nauseum, and you think that that is the totality, the total amount of monies that you need to come up with. And down payment is a piece of the total overall cost. So going forward, I would like for you, if you're going to buy a home, okay, and we set up who we're talking to in the beginning. But if you're buying a home, I want you to mentally in your mind start saying closing costs, because closing costs are a combination of your down payment, the minimum required from you based upon the loan amount, less any monies that are paid upfront on your behalf. I'll get into that in a minute. But also it deals with closing costs, also encompasses lender fees, title company fees, third party or ancillary services that are necessary for you to consummate the loan, appraisal, survey, possibly. There's a myriad of other fees. We'll call them ancillary fees. Your prepaid items for your insurance, you'll prepay that up front for the first year, and the establishing of your escrow account. Most of you, especially first time home buyers, are going to be financing more or putting less than 20% down. And as a result, you're going to have an escrow account. Uh, it's just baked in the cake. Okay. There's no way around it. So closing costs is what I want you to start thinking of. All right. Now, another caveat. It also depends, that 6 to 10% that I have on the screen there. You might have some lenders or some other folks that are saying, "Ah, that's crazy." No, it's not. It's not. What I would say is, depending on where you are, we lend nationwide. So different states, based upon the taxes, the millage rates that are applied to the property, will you have to take that into consideration. So I'm going to use Texas. That's the home state. I'm going to use Texas as an example because it's a state that doesn't have income tax. And so Caesar gets his money through the property taxes. But when you tally up the numbers, not led by emotion or influencers, but when you tally up the numbers, I know this state particular, when you match it up to other taxes, the totality, it's one of the lower, the least taxed areas to be in. So I digress on that point. So 6 to 10%. So let's use $100,000 as an example, for a home purchase. So minimum with this example, $6,000. Okay, that would encompass the totality, the down payment and or closing costs, right? Or $10,000 on a $100,000 example. So again, just to recap quickly, if you're looking to buy a home and you're trying to figure out how much money will be needed to finalize, to consummate the closing, I want you to think 6 to 10%. If you think that's somewhat high, you should be able to lean on your realtor, or you can reach out to us, depending on what state you're in, right? I'll give you an example. Louisiana doesn't have real high property taxes. Um, and I'll just leave it at that. It's right next door to Texas. Do a lot over there too. But in Louisiana, you might use 6% as the high number, right? And you might be more between that 4.5 to 6% range. But the taxes is going to be the key. I'm trying to answer from a 10,000 foot view to cover a lot of different areas. But that's where you would make that determination. So $100,000 example, 6,000, 10,000. If you think it's a little high, you want to check the taxes in the area, or as far as the properties are concerned, and the taxes aren't that high, you might be able to come down where 6% is the high to 4.5% on the low. Okay. Now let's get into another area that a lot of first time home buyers aren't uh, clear about. If I could state it that way, you're not clear, you're unsure. So now your down payment, depending on the loan type, let's go over those real quick. FHA, minimum down payment requirements, 3.5%. Um, Conventional, if you're a first time home buyer, haven't had interest in primary residence in the most recent 3 years, okay, you can put as little as 3% down if you fall within or under an area median income wherever the home is at 100% or less, right? You can put as little as 3% down. VA, USDA, no down payment required. You can finance 100% of the purchase price. So, with that being said, there's some upfront out of pocket expenses that you should be prepared to pay for upfront that will be credited towards the total consummation, the total closing costs once you get to that point. So on the contract side of things, after you find a house and you and your realtor, your lender, you guys work together, get the numbers together, know what you need to offer. The contract is one, right? In order to take that property off of the market, if you will, for a period of time, you are going to write a check or wire monies or a cashier's check to a title company, an escrow account, and that is called an earnest money deposit. Typically, it's 1%, but there's no set amount. I've seen them as low as $10, and I've seen them as high as 15,000. Just me personally. Your realtor, your area, the seller will dictate that. Bottom line, that shows the seller, hey, this person is serious. More importantly, they have the wherewithal to move forward and finalize this transaction. So I don't mind taking my house out of the running from other potential buyers, right? But you're going to put that earnest money at, or it'll be held with the title company, okay? Disinterested third party. We won't get into that for this video. Just rock with me. So now that 1% or whatever that dollar amount is, once you get to the closing table, that amount, whatever it is, will be subtracted or credited towards the total amount that's needed. Okay. Said all that to say that. Generally, it's 1% across the country, across the board, right? That's an upfront fee just to get into the contract. Now, another upfront fee that it's not mandatory, but everybody I deal with, we strongly advise that you do an inspection. Okay. Now, it's an upfront cost. The inspection will be determined by the property size and the location and an inspector. Okay. However, let me digress. It's an upfront fee. The cost, again, is determined by the property and where it's located and what company you go with. Right? It's out of pocket up front. But this fee, this cost, will not be credited towards the total consummation, the total closing costs at the end. Why? Well, this is your due diligence. This is the time that you're taking while the seller is taking the house off the market, the earnest money, right? That's at the title of the escrow company sitting there while you execute your option, your right to do due diligence on the property. Got a great video if you want to get a little more understanding on inspections and what you should expect and how to hire a good one. You want to follow us on the YouTube channel, but if not, reach out to me. We'll send you the link so you can watch it. But that cost, whatever it is, won't be credited towards the total cost of closing. That's an insurance for you to make sure that you want to move forward and purchase this home. It's really also another opportunity for savvy not investors, but realtors and folks like us, folks that we work with, to potentially go in and renegotiate. Okay, so it's a strategy. So there's a lot of things that can happen, but for the context of the purpose of this video, it's an upfront cost that you have to consider and be prepared for, but it's not mandatory. Okay. But if you don't get an inspection and you close on a home loan and some things pop up after the fact, too late. It's yours. Right. So moving forward, one other upfront cost, and I don't have it here, but I'm going to type it real quick. uh, we're going to say another upfront cost once you have determined, hey, the inspection is good. I'm um I'm good with the inspection. Okay. The cost for the inspection won't be credited, but the option fee, okay, and I may fail to have said that. I got confused, but the option fee, the purpose of the option fee is for you to do the inspection, but the option fee will be credited along with the earnest money if you decide to move forward. Okay. So typically that's $10 a day, um, pretty much standard par for the course around the country. Every, all the states that we've lent in, option fee, that's typically what it looks like. And so the option, the earnest money and the option fee, you decide to move forward. Hey, we're going to move forward to close this home. The inspection didn't bring anything out that's a deal killer. The earnest money, the option money will be credited towards that 6 to 10% that I talked to and spoke about in the beginning, right? But the inspection fee, the cost for the inspection will not be credited. That's what I was saying. So, one other upfront fee, once you decide to move forward and you get back really to the loan side of the process, hey, we're getting ready to get things ready for your loan to be clear to close and for you to be able to close, is the appraisal. That cost will be collected upfront by the third party company that's mandated, right? I hear all these folks trying to act like they have some special uh, situation. All lenders have to go through a third party called an appraisal management company. And the concept of the appraisal management company is none of us as lenders have any input, any influence on an appraiser to give a value. So that cost is a cost that's responsible or your cost as a borrower, because that's what shows us that the house that you picked is going to meet the value or exceed the value so that we can base the loan amount on the contract price. So that amount will be paid for upfront. And again, it will be credited from the total amount of funds, the closing costs that are due at the end of the transaction. Okay. So, again, it's very important to understand these things. And I think at this point, what's most important is the percentages, the dollar amount, because a lot of you guys may be getting income tax returns. Some folks may be getting down payment assistance and things of that nature. And I've always uh, am surprised, especially when folks are coming to me and I haven't had an opportunity to educate and train, but they just think, hey, my down payment, the 3.5% is all I need. Had two of those situations just last week, and so it's not your fault. It's our fault. We need to do a better job. When I say our, the professionals, the realtors, the lenders, we need to do a better job of explaining these things so that there's not a bunch of gotchas. Because I don't know about you, but I don't like to be surprised. Explain, give me the truth, tell me the truth, give me the facts, and then I can make my decision from there. So again, that's what we want to do. So let me stay on point. Earnest money, right? Option money, appraisal. Those are up front. That's what you need just to get into a contract. And then those three things, as long as you go towards closing, will be deducted from that potential 6 to 10% of the total pie that needs to be had. Now, I can hear some of you guys saying right now, well, man, I don't have that amount. I understand. I said 6 to 10% in our example is what's needed in a lot of cases. I didn't say you wouldn't necessarily have to be the ones to pay. So there's things called seller concessions, depending on the loan type and things of that nature, uh, where the sellers can contribute. Uh, I won't go into it, but there's a several different ways. There's a myriad of ways to help limit that 6 to 10% to help you get in with what you have. But you have to understand that it's more than just the down payment. That's the purpose of this video. So, seller concessions, down payment assistance, gifts from family members or qualified places, a lot of different ways, okay, to overcome any gaps of where you are as far as what you have, and then where you need to be to consummate to close the deal. So I don't see any questions or anything at this point. And really that's the gist of the video. Again, depending on where you are, take the sales price, the asking price of the home, and multiply it by 6 to 10%. If you're in a state where you have state income tax, let's do it that way. Typically, if you have state income tax, the property taxes aren't as high, but you can lean on your realtor to validate that. And again, if you're going to the realtor first, these are things that a great realtor is explaining you. They're preparing you for realistic type stuff. We don't do the this is grown folks stuff, right? You're borrowing hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you need to have the best information so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. So, again, your realtor should be able to give you a great idea as to the total amount that will be due. That way, you can then determine, hey, out of this total amount for this transaction, I have this much. And then from there, you can strategize on, am I getting a gift? Will the realtor negotiate or try to negotiate with some closing costs? Is there down payment assistance? So on and so forth, right? We're in the information age. So a lot of this stuff that I'm speaking of, you should know right now. And if not, if you're not dealing with somebody like that, reach out. Somebody like me, I don't mind to take that time to consult, right? To make sure you have the right plan of action in place. So you can always go to the description. There's the link on the screen. The first link on my tree is a home consultation. This is why we do these things, so that you're not surprised and you're educated, so that you can pull the trigger and make the best decision for you and your family. So again, 6 to 10% upfront, earnest money, option money. If you do the option money, you're going to have an inspection. That inspection is not going to be credited towards your total consummation cost, your total closing cost, right? Then you have the lender fees. You know what? Let me do this. Let me just show you real quick before we get off of here. This is a great site, right? The CFPB, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. It's a government agency. It's not credit bureaus or credit agencies. They're not government agencies, but this is. And so what you're looking at on the screen is a sample loan estimate. Okay, and I won't go over page one, but the point I want to make is on page two of a loan estimate. If you've applied with a lender and supplied all of the information that you need to for it to be considered an application, and you got to have an address for that. So if you don't have an address, at best you'll get a fee sheet. You should get a fee sheet, right? Within 72 hours of you submitting a complete application. So with that said, page two or on the fee sheet, what you want to do is you want to look at the different fees. So I just mentioned it. Section A, will have the lender fees. And as an aside, this is really the only thing that a lender can control, their fees. Everything else, we're doing our best. I'm doing my best, and let me speak for me, to give you a real world scenario, not one to manipulate you, a real world scenario based upon other loan closings in your area, like kind, like type, right? And so services that you'll shop for, I'll put that under ancillary services, right? They're telling you can shop for an appraiser, but really you can't. I mean, the lender's going to send the uh, AMC, right? The appraisal management company. And then the appraisal management company, what they do after you've paid, they go out and round robin and say, hey, we got an appraisal at this 123 Main Street who can do it to try to get you the lowest price. But there's always a floor and things of that nature. But B shows services that you can shop for. And again, this is from the CFPB. This is not mine. it's not a estimate for me, but this is just an example to educate you, right? Section C here shows services that you didn't shop for. Section D, if you say, notice section D, it says it's a combination of section A, B, and C. You'll get a total amount here. And then you'll start going into the taxes, right? For your escrow account, the prepaid items, for the homeowner's insurance that you're going to pay, any initial payments at closing, okay? And again, actually, this is what establishes your escrow account. This is for the prepaid items, and this is the recording and transfer fees and things of that nature when it comes. And then any other fees like HOA fees, so on and so forth. And then line I is a combination of uh, EF and G. EF, G, and H is the total there, right? And then you add all of those up, D and I, and you get an estimated, right? The total amount. So just looking at this example, right? Uh, it shows the total. Let's do a little math. Shows the total of 97, 12, and 50 cents. That's the total estimated cash that's needed for closing, right? So if I took this amount, well, these are the closing costs, pardon me, based on page 2. But when you add in the down payment, right? Cash to close is $14,147.26 in this estimate, right? From the CFPB, 14,147.26. And if I divide that into the sales price, $180, 180,000, right? Divided by 180,000. If you round up, it's 8%, right? 7.5 or 7.8%. So as you can see, this is where I'm getting these numbers from. I'm not pulling them out of the sky. I'm not trying to tell you only 3.5% because I want you to be manipulated to come in. What we're doing is giving you the information that you need so you're educated. That way, when you're dealing with somebody, not that you need to know everything that we know, but you need to have an idea of where to go, right? So again, 6 to 10%. Earnest money, option money, okay? Appraisal is monies that you would pay upfront out of pocket, but will be credited once you close. And yeah, I think that's it. So I don't see any questions. Again, guys, if you are looking to buy this year, it's really a great time, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. The playing field has been uh, put into your favor, and so consult. What does consultation mean? It means you're speaking with someone that can speak to or understand your specific situation, right? If you're ready to move forward, I say if it's within 90 days, if you're 90 days out, you say you're going to buy, great time to apply, submit everything. Submit everything. Why? So that you can have an accurate plan of action. If something needs to be worked on, or that what you're doing is legit. It's not this, you know, peekaboo type stuff. And then you're not going to be disappointed, because trust me, there's a lot that goes on with this stuff, guys. There's a lot. So submit everything. And then again, in closing, the lender that you're dealing with, or lenders that you're dealing with to shop, should be doing soft pulls. If you're 90 days out, I'm not doing a hard pull. Okay. And I'm able to see the credit report. I'm able to see credit, and we could put a plan of action together and show you what your options are. So that's the new way, man.